All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today, and welcome to today's town hall with ALS TDI called Meet Your ALS Orgs. This series was started as a collaborative idea between ALS TDI, IMALS, the NEALS Research Ambassadors, and the Answer ALS Research Study to highlight the many organizations that are working on research and support in ALS. We'd like to thank our sponsors today, Cytokinetics, Biogen, Mitsubishi Tanabe Pharma, Apellis, and InSource Services. During today's town hall, we ask that you keep your microphones on mute during our presentations. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we will address questions after each speaker and also at the end of today's presentation. This town hall will be recorded and posted. I am Nadia Sethi, the Director of Community Engagement at ALS TDI. I will be dropping my email in the chat, so please feel free to reach out at any time. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to be featuring 4 organizations today. We will have ALS TDI presented by Carol Hamilton, the Les Turner Foundation presented by Lauren Webb, the Live Like Lou Foundation presented by Wendy Faust, and then Team Gleason presented by Daniel Vance. And we'll go ahead and get started with ALS TDI. We have Carol Hamilton, the VP of Development from ALS TDI. The ALS Therapy Development Institute is the world's first ever nonprofit biotech and the most comprehensive drug discovery lab focused solely on ALS. ALS TDI's mission is to continue to invent and discover drugs until everyone with ALS has effective treatments. And Carol, I'm going to let you take things from here.
Hi, everybody. I'm waving my hand so that you can see which rectangular box goes with this voice. That's not showing up hopefully on, does anybody see those lines? Hopefully not, everyone else's. Suddenly there are green lines coming across.
Yeah, it is.
Someone's painting.
Yes, I see them.
I think someone might have their whiteboard engaged.
I'm going to take care of that, Carol, but if you'd like to continue your presentation.
I will continue, yep. So hi, everybody. My name is Carol Hamilton, as Nadia said. I am the Vice President of Development at the ALS Therapy Development Institute, ALS TDI, or sometimes even TDI for short. I have been here for 18 years, having worn many different hats in those years. And people have heard me say before that I will wear whatever hat I have to help treatments move forward faster. Our job is very simple, and here it is, to discover and develop effective treatments for everyone with ALS. We are the first ever nonprofit biotech, which is a concept that seems kind of like an oxymoron. I get it. But think of it. Our role here is using philanthropic investment from everyone in this community and hopefully everyone outside of this community to move drugs forward faster. That keeps us completely accountable to the patient community rather than investors, and also different from an academic institution that may be funded with foundations and by project work. So it allows us to be nimble, and it allows us to respond to the needs of the community and the science that's going on. We are a comprehensive drug discovery lab, and we invite everybody to come visit us. There is a science team of 30 people who work 24/7. I'm not kidding. When someone isn't in the lab, which they are in the evenings and on weekends, there are robotics that are moving. So it is a program that has at any given time 15 to 20 drugs in the pipeline that we are testing. And we do it while being really cheap, which is that last bullet point right there. I'm not kidding. I could give examples of that. Some of them are kind of embarrassing, like stealing coffee mugs from other companies so that we don't have to buy them. But we will do what we have to do to make sure money flows into the lab. In the bottom you can see our beginnings. Stephen Haywood was diagnosed with ALS at 27. He's wearing the orange shirt in the background at 29, rather, sorry. And his family, that's his mom, his best friend, and his then sister-in-law sitting on the couch in the family's basement. And when Stephen was diagnosed, the Haywood family, many of whom were MIT trained engineers and are MIT trained engineers, said, okay, whose job is it to develop treatments for ALS? Because we want to tell them to hurry the hell up. But you know what? Our medical research paradigm just isn't set up that way. So they said, okay, we'll take ownership of the problem. A fairly ballsy thing to do, really, when you think of it. But from that basement, you can now see what we look like now over on the right as the largest independent ALS research institute in the world. And in the light blue shirt and brown pants in the second picture is Stephen Haywood's son, Alex, and Alex's mom, Stephen's widow, Wendy Haywood, with other members of the family there in the lab. And I think what's important to note in those pictures is while we are a research institute that is doing serious science, we come at this because of people with ALS. We just lost our chairman of the board, as many of you know, Augie Nieto, who lived with ALS for more than 16 years. We are governed by and report to people with ALS and their families. So I have said before, our science is blinded, but our hearts aren't. So we have a sense of urgency that comes out of love for this community. And we thank the community who supports the work that we do so that we can work as quickly as we can. So what do? We do the work, the preclinical research, right, to get something to trial. We take the shots on goal. We discover issues both from a biological standpoint and a target standpoint, things to aim drugs at. We then will eventually, once we have tested them over in cells and animals and done it again and replicated it and make sure we have something that matters, we'll partner with a for-profit partner to bring that drug forward, as we did with a drug that was called AT-1501 at ALS TDI and just finished a phase 2 clinical trial with the partner, the sponsor, Eledon, and the drug is called tegoprubart. So we've done it. We've done it in partnership with other companies like Neuroimmune with a drug that's in trial right now called AP101. And we will do it over and over and over again until there are treatments available for everybody. Yesterday was a huge day. Huge. I wept all day in anticipation and then in celebration of the announcement of Qalsodi's approval. I can't wait to celebrate with everybody on this call as we chip away at every segment. So we're going to do this and do this and do this. We're not done. Our scientists are real, by the way. Everybody that you see in pictures, they kind of sometimes look like they came out of central casting. These are real people. That's Kyle Denton. Come to the lab and meet these people. We have tested more drugs at ALS TDI within our 4 walls, no matter where they have been, in animal models in ALS than anywhere else on the planet. We talked about being a nonprofit biotech that has already moved a drug forward and others in partnerships with other companies. We started the first precision medicine program in ALS, which is now called ARC. And we're going to talk about that in their own slides in a couple of minutes. But we recently launched what's called the ALS Research Collaborative, again, ARC Data Commons. And that's a pretty big deal that I want to make sure everybody knows about. Okay, so think about this. When somebody gets ALS and they go on a clinical trial or they do something new in their treatment regimen, people would say, I have no idea if this is helping me or not, right? I don't know what I would have been like anyway. But now you can join what's called our ARC study, free from home. You don't have to come up. It's not going to cost you anything. We absorb the cost with the help of those sponsors and all of this community. And we will begin to follow people with ALS both from a vocal progression standpoint, a movement standpoint, wearing what are called accelerometers, digital devices, wearable devices. We follow your clinical scores. We do surveys. We follow a comprehensive picture of your ALS, and we share that data back with you so that if you are living with ALS, you can pull open your portal and see what your progression line may look like. And that way, if all of a sudden you do something different, if you try a new drug, if you change something and your disease graph accelerates, get the heck off it. If it slows down, keep doing it, right? And you can print that out and bring it to your clinician and talk about your treatment protocol together. Now, what's happening now is we've taken all of that de-identified information from more than 800 people since 2014, and it comprises 335 terabytes of information. Now, Daniel, maybe you know what the heck that means. I don't, but I know enough to know that it must be impressive if somebody, has given me that data point, because that's more data than I can conceive of. But all of that data is now available to researchers around the globe. And we want to make sure that everyone can leverage that data to develop treatments for ALS. Let's say you are working on a particular subset of ALS patients or people with ALS who are within a certain subset. Let's say you are aiming your drug at young people with ALS with, again, I'm just going to be cavalier here, brown hair. That really isn't one of the things here, but you can query this system. That's on the right there. You see what the front page looks like of the ARC Data Commons. You log in. You see all those numbers. You can see how many people participated, how much data they provided, how many genomes have been sequenced. You can see how many blood draws have been done to look for blood-based biomarkers. That's done remotely. We send a phlebotomist to the person's home. And then the researcher can go in and start to query down and say, I want to see all of the graphs around this subset. This has never been available before. So our goal with this is to take all of the data that people with ALS since 2014 have so generously provided to ALS TDI and raise the tide for all ships. So that's what's happening here. And I'm speaking as quickly as I can because, unlike Daniel, I did not time myself, so I do not know where I am with time. But all of this is live. We intend to grow this program in terms of the number of people who can enroll, which means that the data will get that much more robust. We look forward to people with ALS continuing to join and providing this data for researchers across the globe and researchers being able to leverage it. Questions around it, you can go to Nadia or to me or to pretty much anybody at ALS TDI. So that's one way we can help you, a person living with ALS, help you to understand your disease progression, give you a tool to bring to your clinician, make database decisions for yourself. It's a way we can help researchers. And overall, we have a team here that's here to help people understand the science, help you curate information, help it be approachable, translate those 5-syllable words into just 1 or 2 and make it approachable for you at a time when families are completely understandably overwhelmed. We do it both through conversations and we do it through various tools that you see listed here. We have podcasts, we have blogs, we have town halls like this, and we ask you to come in and meet us in person. Come and see the work being done and talk to the scientists who are doing it, give them your questions. We are open and delighted to be able to host you there. And with that, I think that I stop sharing and you can let me know, Nadia, if there are questions and how I did on time.
Carol, you did great. Thank you so much. We have a few questions about how people can participate in ARC and if it's too late to participate in ARC.
No, it is not. Thank you for asking that question. We would be delighted. We would go like this. We would bow to you if you are willing to provide your data and help raise that tide for everybody. If somebody from ALS TDI could please put in the chat the link for ARC, and you can register today. And then someone will get back to you within the next few days on next steps. So thank you for asking that.
We did.
Was there one before that, Nadia?
I think both of those the questions have all been about ARC so far. There was also another question about where is ALS TDI located to visit in person.
We are in Watertown, Massachusetts, which is about 6 miles outside of Boston. And we want you to come so badly that I'm not kidding. If you come to Boston or anywhere in Massachusetts, I'll go pick you up, for God's sakes. Come see us.
Perfect. And then we have a question about CPATH and how they're intending to create a data warehouse and if we're working with them on interoperability. So that question will probably go more to our clinical team, Lynn, and so I will get it to them and we will get back to you. Thank you so much. All right. And I'm not seeing any other questions right now for ALS TDI. And so I'm going to go ahead and move to our next presenter, and then we'll come back at the end if we have time. Thank you so much, Carol.
Sure.
So next up, we have Lauren Webb from the Turner ALS Foundation. She is the Chief Advocacy and Outreach Officer. Turner's mission is to provide the most comprehensive care and support to people living with ALS and their families so they can confidently navigate the disease and advance scientific research for the prevention, treatment, and cure of ALS. Thanks so much for joining us today, Lauren. I'm going to let you take things from here.
Thank you. I'm just really so happy to be part of this group. And Carol, watch out. I am going to give you a call when I'm in Logan Airport and have you come pick me up. This is a great service. But really, truly, this is amazing to be together as a group, to be sharing, what the different groups offer and what that looks like. And I'm really happy to be presenting a little bit more about the foundation, because we all collectively will create a world free of ALS. So, as Nadia mentioned a little bit about the foundation, but, I wanted to give a nod out, a nod to our Les Turner was a man who was diagnosed with ALS in the 70s. And they started the foundation in 1977. And, his sister-in-law and brother-in-law still serve on our board, as well as, and so it's really a collective. It really started in a living room in the 70s. Before I think MDA was the only other ALS organization working on that. So again, we're committed to providing comprehensive care, but I'm going to just highlight a wee bit about us. So we provide basic science, and we primarily fund the Les Turner ALS Center at Northwestern Medicine. And we also, our clinical trials, as everyone across the country, has been growing significantly. Last year, we offered 19 different clinical trials and research studies at the center. And I just also wanted to really take this moment, as Carol was mentioning, just our deep gratitude for clinical trial participants. I mean, it was never more apparent than yesterday of getting the approval and what that means, for families and for participants in the trial. And then, we also offer a multidisciplinary clinic. And one of the unique pieces about Northwestern Medicine is our pulmonologists. We actually have 2 pulmonologists who work in this space. And Lisa Wolf in particular, we nominated her for an award last year at our gala, but she really pioneered the impact of non-invasive ventilation. And so that's really it's been really remarkable watching the pulmonology engagement, not only in ALS, but in the greater neuromuscular community, how important that has been. And again, with our clinic, we have, it's a multidisciplinary approach like many other clinics, and the access to clinical trials and with the dedicated coordinators. For the purpose of this talk today, I really wanted to stress that there are resources available for families to utilize. And I think Lisa, whose father, Renato, had ALS, really, talks about asking questions and really knowing that people are here for you. And so the Les Turner ALS Foundation is here for you, as well as many other organizations to support you. So I just really want to make that clear to the folks on the line. So again, we offer care visits by our ALS support service coordinators, different support group meetings, and needs-based grant programs. And we also do in-services to the community. But I wanted to highlight, we are real people. This is my team, who is made up of nurses and social workers and speech and language pathologists, who really have years of experience in working with people living with ALS. So I'm very lucky that I've had a stable team and a team who really cares about families and have worked with them, from the journey of a diagnosis. And we continue to support people through our bereavement programs. So we, last year we had 106 need-based grants that we shared. We also provided nearly 4,000 care coordination meetings with that small but mighty team. We continue to grow. We used to drive all around the state of Illinois and parts of Indiana and a wee bit of Wisconsin. But we are doing our services through telehealth. And so we've been able to reach a number of different people. We have more than 60 people who attend our support groups. And this is the list of some of the groups. I would love if you have any suggestions. We're going to rename some of our groups but these are location-based, but that's when we were hosting support groups in person. So we'll be renaming some of these groups, but so anyone across the country can attend our groups. I wanted to highlight a couple of things in particular. Our bereavement groups are really have been really important for families and the connection and to maintain, because we've heard from the community and also from the literature how important it is to support the family throughout their journey. And then we also have a caregiver-only support group, which is hosted by Ann Litsky, who lost her mother, and she's been working with the foundation for over 40 years. And Ann is just a true gem. So if there's any caregivers who are listening, I would highly encourage you to consider joining that group, and all of this information is available on our website. We are going to be launching a newly diagnosed ALS series, which is a mixture of education as well as social, and really creating an environment to help support people as well. This is just kind of the ethos of what our support services team is. Really, we strive to help support people in whatever way they want, and we really actively work to help them find the resources to really move forward and supporting whatever types of decisions that they make. And so you'll notice that's a big part. And Julie Stoll is just a really solid nurse. We don't provide direct service in terms of like medical care, but we're here to provide education and support. So we created in 2021, in December 2021, we launched some of our educational materials. And we've really made a focus on health literacy, as well as making information accessible and easy to understand. And that's been really helpful, I think, to the community. We really wanted to start the conversation around health literacy because we really believe that it's important not only for clinical trials, it's also important for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really understanding, right, as you're on this journey. Being able to have information that's easily understandable is really critical and can help minimize the stress, knowing that you have resources and information available. We also host a ALS learning series, and that has just grown exponentially. We just had a really fantastic talk on ALS and exercise, which was really well attended. We talk about intimacy. So I encourage you to go back and take a look at some of the previous learning series. I wanted to give a shout out. I don't know what nod means. I don't know why I keep saying that, to the Morris principles. That has been really grounding to me. I've been doing this work over 20 years. And, it really centers the work that my team does and that our foundation does. And I wanted to particularly highlight this, challenge that the Morris principles put forth was, understanding the genetic counseling and testing, even for those with no known family history. And back in 2021, I met with Sandy Morris and Phil Green, and they put forth a challenge to us. And they said, we would like you to focus on, creating health literacy materials for genetic testing. And so I'm pleased to say that Monday, May 1st, we'll be launching the first of its kind in the US, an interactive guide for genetic testing to help people who have been diagnosed with ALS really walk through the benefits and the downsides of genetic testing so they can make informed decisions. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at some of our decision tools, you'll see that it's written in a way that is easily understandable, and you can go through these tools at your own pace, and you can really walk through and really start the conversation with your family around genetic testing. But we also have modules around feeding tubes and non-invasive ventilation. I'll be putting in the chat later where you can do a survey and let us know what you think of our materials. And put forth the next challenge to us, what you as a community think we need to tackle. We're more than happy to take that on. In fact, people living with ALS and caregivers were essential in the development of this tool. So May 11th, a little plug here. We have Jennifer Rogenbuck from the Ohio State University. She's going to be presenting the evidence-based consensus guidelines for genetic counseling and testing in ALS. And those are new guidelines that will be coming out. I've seen Jennifer's talk at the MDA clinical conference. I highly encourage folks to listen in and understand a little bit more about where the clinical practice is moving to help the community make some choices around genetic testing. And, if you are in Chicago, I will not pick you up at O'Hare or Midway, but I will gladly meet you at Soldier Field. We have a really beautiful walk that happens on Saturday, September 23rd. It's a really great event and a really wonderful way to build community. We see families year after year, they're supporting each other, and it's just a really fun event. So thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you a little bit more about the foundation and the work that we do. And thank you to people living with ALS, and thank you to caregivers. You truly are doing the work and are supporting the organizations. And we need you to tell us, what is our next steps? What do we need to do? How can we better serve the community? So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lauren. That was wonderful. So there's a lot of, there's several links in the chat for different resources at ALS Turner. So go ahead and take a look at that, everybody who's on. And Lauren, we've got a few questions for you. We've got 2 questions around what areas you service. So one person was asking what area of the country you service, and another was asking if you only provide services to people receiving care at Northwestern, or if they can also be with the ALS Association Chicago and work with you.
Sure. So, you know, we have a small team, and primarily our very intensive care coordination is limited to people who attend Northwestern, because we work very closely with the center. But that being said, we get, you know, calls from all over the country, and we can help support and provide information and help redirect. Cara Gallagher, who's our manager, she just does a really wonderful job of connecting people and also, you know, pointing them in the right direction. Our grants are limited to people who attend Northwestern medicine. That's just because we have limited dollars. You know, once, you know, we raise more funds, I would love to open that up to the greater community. But you know, our educational materials, our support groups, our learning series are all open to the community, and we're here to serve the greater community across the country and throughout the world as well. We were one of the founders of the International Alliance, and so we feel a deep gratitude to the community, and we want to serve people. So, you know, there's no wrong door. We're here to support the whole community.
Thank you, Lauren. And we have another question. What do you offer regarding home health care?
So we have, gosh, oh man, is my phone being tapped? Because that is like the #1 issue, right? Is home health. And we know the Center for Medicaid, and thank you. And I'm really excited for Team Gleason to be talking, giving their update and their leadership around home health care. So we have, you know, we will be really advocating and working for some legislative fixes, but our team really works locally to understand the current environment, and that changes all the time. And there's a tremendous need to have better resources. So I think as a community, we can really do a better job of supporting families. We do offer respite programs, and we do, you know, connect people with different folks in home health, and we do trainings. We'll do individual trainings for home health agencies to get their folks up to speed. But yes, this is the most challenging. It's a workforce development issue. It's everything. And you know, I think it's really, it's one of the biggest hurdles that we have as a community.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Really appreciate your time. We're going to switch to our next presenter, and then we'll come back if there's any additional questions. Thank you, Lauren. You were great. And our next presenter is Wendy Faust from Live Like Lou. She is the executive director. The Live Like Lou Foundation's mission is to create and connect communities to stimulate emerging ALS research and uniquely support families affected by Lou Gehrig's disease. Our vision is to leave ALS better than we found it. And Wendy, I'm going to have you screen share and take things away.
Perfect. Thank you. It looks like I'm not able to screen share right now. Is someone else sharing?
Going to try this.
Yes, it says Robert Yancey's screen is being shared.
Yep. So I'm going to take that and then, okay, now you should be able to screen share.
Wonderful. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Let me get this going. There we go. I am so delighted to have the opportunity to share the Live Like Lou Foundation story with all of you and to highlight everything that our organization has been able to accomplish since 2017, when we were founded as a national nonprofit. And you heard our mission statement. My name is Wendy Faust. I have the pleasure of serving as the executive director for our organization. And while our national presence as the Live Like Lou Foundation began in 2017, Live Like Lou started as a grassroots effort in Western Pennsylvania in 2011, following Neil Alexander's ALS diagnosis. This is Neil on the screen holding a beloved photo of Lou Gehrig. And Neil was a lawyer. He was a proud University of Pittsburgh alumnus, and he was active in his Pittsburgh community. Neil loved baseball, and he took inspiration from Lou when he faced his ALS diagnosis. And that was with courage, with humility, and with gratitude. And those are the things that we mean when we say live like Lou. Just as Lou Gehrig never took a day off in baseball, as you all know, ALS does not take a day off for those who are living with it, those who love them and care for them. And for the Alexanders, they set out to fund ALS research through their local community foundation. And within 5 years, they funded the Live Like Lou Center for ALS Research at the University of Pittsburgh. And they made a major difference in their own local community. Talk about gratitude and the gratitude that Lou Gehrig lived with. This photo just really illustrates it because it was on this day that he announced to the world that he had been diagnosed with ALS. And he showed gratitude to his teammates, his mother-in-law, the groundskeepers, the politicians, the media. He showed gratitude to absolutely everyone in his community. And Neil Alexander and Lou Gehrig shared something else in common other than their ALS diagnosis. And that's that they were both members of Phi Delta Theta fraternity. Since the 1950s, Phi Delta Theta has been supporting ALS as its philanthropic cause. And Phi Delta helped establish Live Like Lou's national presence in 2017 in launching the Live Like Lou Foundation. So our work, this slide gives you an overview. We focus in 3 main areas: supporting ALS families, funding ALS research, and generating awareness for this disease. We think that this disease needs more at-bats to find meaningful treatments or cures, pardon the baseball pun. So you see our website on the screen where you can register for our ALS family programs. These specifically include our Connect and Serve program, where we've registered more than 450 ALS families in the United States and Canada since 2018. And our volunteers provide hands-on service for one-time or short-term projects in and around the home. Ultimately, it's our volunteers handling those tasks around the home that, while they're simple for a volunteer to complete, it means more time as a family and focused on your loved one living with ALS. I'll give you a couple of stories of that impact. In Alabama, just this last weekend, we learned that Stephen was celebrating a birthday. Stephen's living with ALS and has a dog that he loves to take outside. But taking the dog out on the leash and risking the dog being able to escape the yard just became more and more of a concern as his ALS continued and progressed. So our volunteers were able to go out and build a fence for the family and celebrate Stephen's birthday with him. They brought balloons and his wife made dinner and cupcakes. And it just was a really neat moment that taking, again, that simple task out of the way for the family, but allowing Stephen to enjoy that time in his backyard and with his dog. In Georgia, a few years ago, one of my favorite Live Like Lou volunteer stories, the family had a little girl. And at the time I heard this story, I had a daughter the same exact age. And the volunteers went out a couple different times, and the little girl in the family, she played softball. And so ultimately they ended up throwing the softball with her. And at her dad's funeral several months later, those volunteers were there sitting in the pews next to that little girl because they considered themselves her honorary big brothers. And they've continued to go out and to throw the softball with her, attend her softball games. And that's just so special. In New England, a couple of years ago, it was clearing a steep driveway of snow and ice to allow for the delivery of a wheelchair ramp in the midst of a huge snowstorm. In California, it was planting flowers outside of the window of the room where their loved ones spent a ton of time. It can be anything. So we provide the volunteers, the family gets the benefit. There's no cost to the family. It's that simple. So you can register through that link on the website. And our other family programs open to our registered family include, we've funded nearly $200,000 in Iron Horse scholarships to children in ALS families to pursue their higher education. And we've launched home improvement grants. This was launched last year in a pilot program, and we'll be launching our application process for these grants actually later this week or early next week, because we know that an ALS diagnosis oftentimes means renovations in and around the home. And we want to provide financial support for that. We fund Hope Loves Company camps for children and ALS families. We provide volunteers as camp counselors and funds to support the 6 regional Hope Loves Company camps for children and ALS families. Those are free of charge. Our second mission focus is in funding ALS research. We invest specifically in emerging researchers to fund basic science. And it's our hope that these will lead to tomorrow's trials, treatments, and cures for ALS. By the end of this year, we will have awarded more than $1 million in grants to emerging ALS investigators since 2018. And we've also helped establish the Live Like Lou Center for ALS Research at the University of Pittsburgh. And we've just successfully completed a phase 1 goal to raise $3.5 million to establish a director of ALS research at the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Our third mission focus area is we seek to amplify Lou Gehrig's story, celebrate his legacy, and honor what it means to live like Lou in the face of this disease. And we do this through partnerships in and out of the broader ALS community. Each of the organizations featured on today's call, we are so proud to call our partners and friends in this important work. And we also create moments of impact surrounding Major League Baseball's Lou Gehrig Day each year in partnership with our friends at Phi Delta Theta fraternity. Phi Delta Theta has awarded the Lou Gehrig Memorial Award in Major League Baseball since 1955, and Lou Gehrig Day has offered a wonderful opportunity for us to partner with them and to celebrate the day and help create awareness for this disease. We'll be in 8 different markets this year for Lou Gehrig Day activities, and in several of those, we'll be surprising someone living with ALS with a power wheelchair through a partnership with the Permobile Foundation. We'll be funding scholarships to ALS families on the field because of the great work Major League Baseball players are doing in their communities. And of course, our partnership with Phi Delta Theta is something we celebrate in creating lifelong ambassadors for this disease and for the ALS community through them honoring their brother, Lou Gehrig. So again, thank you so much to ALS TDI for the opportunity to be a part of today's conversation. I think what all of our organizations are doing is just remarkable. When Neil Alexander was asked by a reporter how he hoped his children would remember him, his answer came quickly. He knew his efforts wouldn't save his own life, but he wanted his kids to know that he left ALS better than he found it. And I'm sure you'll agree that he has. So on behalf of Lou Gehrig, Neil, and the hundreds of ALS families the Live Like Lou Foundation supports, it inspires our work each and every day to know that you're helping us to leave ALS better than we found it. So again, thank you for the opportunity to share the Live Like Lou story today. And we welcome your outreach via email, info@livelikelou.org.
Thank you so much for that great presentation, Wendy. We have a few questions that came in. One is specific to Lou Gehrig Day. So how are you connected with MLB's Lou Gehrig Day in early June?
Yeah, great question. So Major League Baseball announced Lou Gehrig Day through a partnership of a number of different individuals and organizations. And so it just happens that we're able to, through our partnership with Phi Delta Theta, join together to celebrate Lou Gehrig Day. So again, Phi Delta has been offering and presenting the Lou Gehrig Memorial Award since 1955 in Major League Baseball, and it goes to a player who exhibits those traits of Lou Gehrig that just really align well with what Live Like Lou does. So wherever that award is presented by our friends at Phi Delta is where the Live Like Lou team also joins in those celebrations. And in the pregame activities, we fund the wheelchairs in partnership with the Permobile Foundation. And again, we're awarding scholarships in those communities based on where Phi Delta is honoring players. The teams are nominating those players. So there were 13 players nominated this year, and we'll have the opportunity again to be in 8 of those locations.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And are there specific areas that you serve in the US for support for families, and how do people reach out to you for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So livelikelou.org/families will take you to our registration form, and that includes a link to a map where we have volunteers ready and waiting to serve. We do serve the entire United States. We are in the same circumstance of so many, where some of those rural communities, we don't have volunteers ready. But once a family registers with us, we do some promotion to gain volunteers. If we don't already have someone registered in that area, we do social media ads, Google ads. We are in Canada as well. We do have a lot of volunteers in Canada as well. And then similarly, if we have a volunteer register with us and we don't have a family in that area yet, we'll do those social media ads to target families and Google ads to target families as well. So please register with us. Even if we aren't able to pair you with a volunteer, it makes you eligible for all of our other programs, including the scholarships, home improvement grants, and things like that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Wendy. I didn't realize that you were beyond the US, so I'm excited to share that resource with families in Canada as well. Thank you.
Great. Absolutely.
All right. Okay. And with that, we're going to move to our next presenter for today. We have Daniel Vance from Team Gleason, and he is the lead technology and equipment specialist with Team Gleason. The mission of Team Gleason is to improve life for people living with ALS by delivering innovative technology and equipment, as well as providing and empowering an improved life experience. Daniel, I'm going to let you take things from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you all for attending. Excited to tell you a little more about Team Gleason Foundation. So as you may know, our foundation was founded by Steve Gleason and his family. Steve was an NFL football player for the New Orleans Saints and was diagnosed with ALS in 2011. And with his diagnosis, one of the things he has found is that technology and equipment are really what has allowed him to continue to participate in the day-to-day things that he would like to do, engage with his family, engage with the work that he's working on. So he really wanted to focus on that equipment and technology and help provide that to individuals, whether that's education about the technology, whether that is through grants to actually provide that, whether it's funds to help with the costs, or working with manufacturers and consumer tech companies to advance the technology. We're kind of in all of those different things. In general, we have what we call program services, and those program services fall under adventures, in-home solutions, mobility challenges, communication, and voice preservation. I'm trying out some new language as we're attempting to do some updates to our website. So if hopefully those make sense, that's kind of the direction we're looking to go into. And so under adventures, that's really focusing on whatever that life adventure is for the family. We have sent people to Patagonia, to the Grand Canyon. We have gone to the Super Bowl. We have done smaller family events, going to weddings, going to graduations, going to visit someone's mother who they haven't seen in a while. So it's really working with our team and our adventure coordinator to figure out what it is that family wants to do, what the funds are that we have at the time, and kind of figuring out where those fits and matches are. In-home solutions are things most commonly as of today are shower chairs. So it's full complex rehab shower chairs. They can work in a shower, they can work in a tub if it's a zero entry, if it has a threshold. Our partnerships with the shower chair companies can provide all of that. And what we try and do is work with the families to figure out exactly what's needed, connect them with a local rep from that manufacturer, do an evaluation, get the equipment, and then provide delivery and education as well to make sure that equipment is working for the family. With mobility challenges, there's a couple of different things that we provide assistance with. The big ones being seat elevators for the Group 3 power wheelchairs. As you can see in the image, the seat elevator allows for the height of the chair to be adjusted so you can access things that are higher, so you can see eye to eye with those around you, so that you can transfer in and out of the chair easier. And there's some things, most commonly ability drive, that are alternative drive control features. So ability drive allows you to drive the wheelchair using your eyes through a communication device, an eye gaze bar. So there's grants for both of those different items. Communication difficulties is then there's things such as voice banking and message banking, actually next page, but communication device copays. So communication devices, insurance typically covers about 80%. We have a grant to cover the other 20%. If for some reason insurance will not cover the cost of the communication device, whether that's because of a hospice situation or being in a skilled nursing facility, we do have loaner equipment where we will work with the family to identify the appropriate device, and then can loan out communication devices, mounts for communication devices, alternative access methods. So things like eye gaze bars, head mice, switches, communication effectiveness options. So things like voice amplifiers, and then a whole range of low tech or no tech solutions. So communication boards, trying to make sure that we're providing the things that family may need. With voice preservation, Team Gleason works to connect the family with the appropriate program, whether that's voice banking, message banking, or a combination of both. And then we cover the cost of that service as well as any equipment that the family may need for that process. So with message banking, there's often a Zoom H1N recorder that's needed. With voice banking, there may be a microphone or headset that's needed. So we provide both the covering of the service as well as any equipment. And if the family needs assistance with actually going through the process, we have a partnership with Boston Children's Hospital, the J.S. Fishman ALS Augmentative Communication Program, where they will also help the family walk through the steps of selecting the right process, the tips and tricks of how to do voice and message banking. So that's, in general, those are our different program services. They're currently named slightly differently, but like I said, we're trying out some new language. So what you would do is you go to our website, teamgleason.org. On almost every page of our website, there's a little box that says need assistance as of today. When you click on the need assistance box, you will get to a page that is our different applications. So there's applications for communication device copays, voice and message banking, communication device loaners, wheelchair seat elevator grants, equipment and ventures. And the individual would select which application they're looking for, and then there'd be some questions. In general, the questions are, what is your name, phone number, address, a caregiver's name, phone number, address, what it is you're looking for. If you're working with a clinician or a therapist, we ask that you provide that information as well. And that's really about it. Once that application is done, as of today, a automated waiver or an automated liability waiver is sent to the family through Dropbox Sign, and we would ask that the family sign that. That waiver is really just allowing us to collect your information, share it with any manufacturers we may be working with to provide that grant. There's some language about liability. There's some language about media release. So we are, based on our board's recommendations, we have to wait until that is signed to continue along with the process. Once that's signed, we provide an overview of the program service. We schedule a phone call with the family. During that phone call, we have a one-on-one conversation with the family about the request, about their need. We make sure that that request and the need match up, that it's a good match. And then we typically go over the rest of our program services in case there's something else that we can provide assistance with. Once that phone call is done and any additional information is collected, we typically, the way our system is set up is that we hope to be able to approve every grant that comes in where there's the actual match, where it's you are asking for something that is logical. So minus Adventures has a more of a strict budget where not all adventure requests are approved, but almost every other program services mentioned, our goal is to approve anyone who asks. And then we offer follow-up support once that grant has been approved. Some other things to know. One of the things that we get asked a lot is, can families apply for more than one thing? Each of our budget or each of our program services is its own budget category. So there are limits within each program service, but there's not a family specific limit. So if a family has a need for or wants assistance with adventures, communication, mobility, in the home services, etc., we're happy to provide all of those as long as those requests make sense. We do partner with several other organizations to provide support. As mentioned, the J.S. Fishman ALS Augmentative Communication Program assists with voice and message banking if family needs to be assisted with walking through that process. And we partner with Bridging Voice to assist with evaluations for things like communication devices, which they can help virtually, and supportive communication devices if that's needed. needed. The other thing that I would mention is those are our program services, but there's also assistance, as was mentioned earlier, with things like respite. There's assistance with advocacy, there's assistance with education, and there's an innovation team that's working on partnerships and collaborations with companies like Google, Microsoft, iRobot, and different larger consumer tech companies, as well as the manufacturers Permobil, Quantum, Tobii, Dynavox, to make sure that the next round of technology is built in a more universally accessible way, and that the needs of individuals living with ALS are really focused on. Sorry for speeding through. I knew we were close to time, so I wanted to make sure we got through everything as quickly as possible.
That was a great presentation, Danny. Thank you so much. It was fantastic. And there's a flood of comments about how Team Gleason has helped so many people who are on this call, which is really amazing. Lots of comments about power chair elevators, which is wonderful. We did have a few questions come in. Is there an ability to voice bank in languages other than English?
So the short answer is yes. The long answer is it depends on the language that you want to record in. Acapella is one of the companies that we partner with for voice and message banking. And Acapella has a larger number of languages. Off the top of my head, I don't know how many languages that is, but they have a number of languages that you can record in. So it would, as long as the language that the individual is looking to record in is approved by that company, then you can.
Thank you so much. And then because there were so many comments about power chair elevators, can you talk a little bit about the benefits of that? And I think it's not always covered by insurance, which is why you are providing that service. And there was a comment from Lauren that CMS is supposed to rule on seat elevation coverage for Medicare. But yeah, we'd love to hear more about seat elevation and why it's impactful.
Yeah, so the seat elevator feature is the feature that adjusts the height of the chair. So if the seat is here, you get typically about a foot of elevation or height change. I usually think of that assistance in three ways. So transfers, getting in and out of the wheelchair tends to be easier if you have that height adjustability. And that goes for almost any transfer style. So if you're doing a sit to stand transfer, it tends to be easier to get into that standing position from a higher elevation. If you're doing a sideboard transfer, it tends to be easier if you are going downhill. So when you're moving towards the bed, sliding down towards the bed, and if you're moving from the bed to the chair, lowering the chair and going down to the chair. So having the adjustability and height helps out there. If you're doing a Hoyer lift transfer, I tend to feel like if the chair is a little higher, that makes it easier for the individual who's assisting with the sling to get everything in place. So in my mind, it helps out with all transfers. For just activities of daily living, just day-to-day things, access to things on countertops, access to things in cabinets, really any feature in the home that you would stand up to interact with, having the seat elevator get you into that position. If an individual maybe no longer has the upper extremity strength or mobility to physically interact with those things, one of the things that I've heard a lot of people say is that functional line of sight. They are able to elevate the chair so that they can see what's on the countertop, see what's on the stove, see what's in at these different levels, in a way that they're now able to interact or participate in those activities in a way that they weren't before. The same is true for tables or other places where activities are done. You have the flexibility to be at that same level as others. The third aspect I would say is social interaction. So being at eye level with those around you just makes a difference emotionally if people aren't having to speak down towards you or you having to look up to talk to everyone that is around you. Medically, I would say that helps with the neck, the back, so that you're not having to look. And with communication, if it's still a verbal communication, you don't have to project quite as loudly. So as people mentioned, CMS they just had their second comment period for their proposed coverage of seat elevation. The initial coverage proposal was specifically for transfers in group 3 chairs and potentially group 2 chairs as well. Most of the comments that I read for that suggested that that be extended to functional reach and functional line of sight. So the hope is that seat elevation will be covered by Medicare in the near future. I want to say that they are required to have a response to the comment period sometime in May.
Thank you so much. And I think we
You're
had
welcome.
one additional question that came in, which might be for you. This might be a question for Les Turner maybe as well. Somebody was wondering if there are aids and technique for transferring for toileting in the middle of the night and during the day. Any thoughts, Team Gleason and Les Turner?
I would I'll drop a link in there for some of the transfers. Some of I think it really depends upon your abilities and what the capabilities are for that transfer. Some people really like to have the bath benches and close nearby to help with that. And our home modifications and other pieces are around to address that issue, but this is a really big challenge. And I think talking with your physical therapist or occupational therapist at your clinic can help customize and train you. Your ALS guide just put out a really wonderful videos too, so around some of the issues around transferring. So I would definitely encourage you to take a look at those resources.
Thank you so much, Lauren. And I think as we're going to close out here, we're a little over time. We got some questions in advance asking how the different organizations here collaborate. So I'd love to hear from any of you. I think that we collaborate because we are talking all the time. I use all of the organizations that we presented as resources for our community members. Many of our team have shared some of you with me, and I share them with other people, and others at ALS TDI are sharing information about you to people that we talk to within the community. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on ways that different organizations collaborate. Maybe Wendy, we can start with you.
Sure. Well, I can give, a great example of being with our friends from ALS TDI just a couple of weeks ago, where we both received a grant from Subaru as part of their Share the Love campaign as a result of a local ALS family in the Denver metro area who nominated our organizations to be the beneficiaries of that Subaru grant. So I think there's great opportunities to know that our organizations, while we're focused on the ALS community, we are all doing very different work, and we're not duplicating efforts. And I think that's a great way to talk about our partnerships. Les Turner ALS Foundation, when we have opportunities in Chicago, we've been part of reaching out to when we have volunteers that can serve ALS families in that community. Chicago White Sox game last year for Lou Gehrig Day. There are a number of different ways that we're always looking to reach out. So Team Gleason, Steve's father-in-law wishes me a happy birthday every year because he is just such a great human that loves birthdays. So just keeping in touch and understanding the different niches that our organizations serve and referring one another to around, right, when there's a family that can benefit or research or news that comes out. So I definitely have examples of each of the organizations on this call today and so many others out there of the great ways we can volunteer with one another. Each of these organizations we have that receive communications from us when we're spreading the news about scholarship opportunities and things like that. So hope that helps.
Thank you, Wendy. And any other thoughts, Carol and Daniel and Lauren?
I honestly, it's been so wonderful having colleagues to reach out to. We really rely on, Team Gleason. I just really see them as innovators and really thinking clearly about what the needs are. And so partnering on different advocacy issues, I think is where our strength is as a community, and really not duplicating services and looking for different ways to support the community. And it's been really beautiful to witness the collaboration in the community, together. And it's been really helpful for me as a leader. And most importantly, to collaborate with the people living with ALS and caregivers, because I think that's where most of our learnings occur. And I think working with the different organizations really makes a definite difference in the quality of services that we provide.
Thank you. We have lots of activity in the chat, different languages being shared. Any other closing comments, Daniel, Carol?
I would echo what everybody else said. I think that I want everyone to know that everybody that you met today, and likely everybody on this Zoom, wants an end to this disease. And they're going to own a piece of the puzzle and help. And we don't consider each other competitors. We consider each other experts in the field at doing certain things. And we call on each other. We're on panels together. I just want you to know that this is a group of people who really want to help. So call on any of us for anything, and we will find you the right person to talk to.
Okay. Thank you to everyone who attended today, and thank you so much to our presenters. You were all wonderful. Please feel free to send questions my way or to reach out to any of these organizations. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your Wednesday. Thanks so much for joining us today, all. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Nadia, thank you, Carol. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Daniel. It was wonderful. Appreciate it so much.
Thank
Bye.
you, Peter.
Hey, no problem.
Take care.